A very good afternoon to all my dear students, Ms. Lafpreet Kaur, Pratibha, Pramod K. Thank you so much, Pramod K. Even I enjoy teaching all of you. Mr. Akhilindeshwari, Purva, Pratibha, Bharat, Anjali, Aryan, Ayushi. Very good afternoon, children. And I'm so happy to read the messages that, ma'am, we have revised till what we have done. So that's really great and wonderful. So children, we have already done Unit 1 as well as Unit 2 of Sale of Goods Act, that is Chapter 2. And I have also uploaded the presentations on your admin portal. You can download it from there. I hope you all have received it. There was one small test also which I have given to you for MCQ1. Try to do it and then see the answers below. So I have given you the answers so that you don't have to search for them, but then you have to apply your knowledge and see whether you know what the answers to these questions are. Mr. Gufran, Harshita, Manish, Nidhi, Samina, Ashutosh, Soumya, good afternoon, children. Video is not available. Manish Jain, I hope you can see us now. Amkar, Ayush, Niklesh, Ayushi Jain. I hope the video is visible. One of you can just confirm me. All right. So children, today we'll be starting with our Unit 3, that is Sale of Goods, where we'll be talking about the transfer of ownership and property of goods. But before that, I can recall that some of our MCQs of Unit 2 were already left undone. So in the previous class, let's quickly have a recap of what we discussed in the previous class. You're very much clear about conditions and guarantees. We have already done implied conditions, implied guarantees also. And caveat emptor was also completely done. Yes, I told you that you can send me your queries in the next session. I hope you have revised caveat emptor. Anyone wants to ask anything? Mr. Aryan Kumar has sent a question for us. Okay, thank you, Amkar and Shweta, for confirming that the video is clearly visible. Thank you so much. In case of caveat emptor, what if I just said to the seller, give me a bottle and nothing else, and afterward my purpose is not fulfilled? Caveat emptor will apply. So Mr. Aryan Kumar, your query is not much clear what you're asking, but let me just make you clear that conditions for caveat emptor are, if you have told, the buyer has told the seller for what purpose he needs the goods, and he's relying on the seller's skill and judgment, and the business of the seller is to supply those goods. In that case, implied condition as to quality and fitness can be made applicable, and the seller do not fulfill your purpose, you can hold him liable. But the general rule is that let the buyer be aware. As a buyer, you should act sensibly. You should know in which shop you're going to buy what kind of goods and whether that person is dealing in those goods or not. So you have to be very careful in buying the goods as a buyer, because tomorrow, if you make a wrong choice, it is your responsibility, not the seller's responsibility. And in order to hold the seller liable, all these three conditions have to be satisfied. If these three conditions are satisfied, then the buyer can be held liable. All right. Okay. So the duty of the buyer is to satisfy himself before buying the goods, and otherwise, if the goods turn out to be defective, he cannot hold the seller liable. This is what we learned in the rule of caveat emptor. So I hope your answer is clear, Mr. Aryan Kumar, that you can hold him liable only if you have fulfilled those three conditions. So again and again, somebody is saying the video is not available. Hemil sir, at technical support background, can you please check the video is available? All right, so the video is clear. Okay. Manish, there might be some error at your end. Otherwise, the video is clear. Maybe some network error at your end. Again, I'm getting the same from Yash and Omar also. I hope, sir, it's clear at your end. You can see it clearly. All right. Okay, Ayush Bansal is saying, ma'am, caveat emptor. So I hope you have your query also got clear caveat emptor regarding this. Nikita is asking warranty of encumbrances. So warranty of encumbrances, child, basically means that if any charge has been created in your goods, you have given the goods as a security to a bank or someone else, and then you're trying to sell those goods. That means they are having some charges, some encumbrances are on that goods. You cannot sell them unless and until you free them, until and unless you have released it as a security. So, for example, you have given your gold to the bank and taken some loan, and now you sell your gold to your friend. So law says in such a case that gold which was already pledged as a security with the bank is said to be having charges or encumbrances against it. So now there is a breach of warranty. The person to whom you have sold the gold will either ask you to pay off this loan amount first, or he will pay off the loan amount and recover the money from you. Okay, clear. Alfie Thangal is asking difference between implied conditions and implied warranty. So it is very, very simple. In case of implied condition, you simply have to remember that when the condition is breached, the buyer can repudiate the contract, he can cancel the contract, and he can also return the goods. However, in case of warranty, you can only claim the damages. You cannot return the goods. Mr. Mohammed Sarfaraz, I hope now it is clear to all of you. I have got it checked at the back end also. The video is clear. Maybe some network error if somebody is facing any problem at their end. Mr. Akshay Kumar, Miss Pratibha is sending what is merchantability. So we remember we discussed about implied condition as to merchantability. That means the goods should be in proper working condition. So Pratibha, you went to purchase a mobile phone and it was absolutely as per description. Sample was also correctly shown. All the conditions were fulfilled, but the mobile was not working. You tried to make a call, you cannot make a call. So what is the basic purpose of using a mobile phone? Is it only meant for Insta Reels or Facebook, or is it used for making calls? So the basic usage of mobile phone is for making calls. Now, if that basic usage is not fulfilled, that means the breach of implied condition as to merchantability has happened. Mohammed Khan, we just discussed shortly, caveat emptor means the buyer should be aware unless and until these three conditions are not satisfied, you cannot hold the seller responsible. In order to hold the seller responsible, you have to make sure if you have told the purpose to the seller and the seller is breaching any of the condition, then you can hold the seller liable. Otherwise, doctrine of caveat emptor tells you that you as a buyer should be able to check the goods before purchasing them. Thank you, Mr. Niklesh, for clarifying that the video is absolutely clear. What is meant by identified after sale by the buyer? Abhishek, that is part of our unit 3, which we'll be starting in a while, and the things will become clear. All right, children. So quickly, let's go to the MCQs. We have discussed few of the MCQs, and let us just complete, and it will be a test of yours as well. All right, the first MCQ for you for today's class is a stipulation which is collateral to the main purpose of the contract is what? Is it a condition or it's a warranty? A stipulation which is collateral to the main purpose of the contract is condition or warranty. Send me answers quickly. What is it? Is it a condition or it's a warranty? So all those who are able to send me the answers, I think you have confirmed that you can see the screen clearly. Tanmeet, it's correct. Samina, Abhishek, Yashraj, Gufran, Pramod, Ayushi, Nikita, Niklesh. Pramod K, you are wrong. Niklesh is correct. Alfie Thangal is correct. Sunil. Alfie Thangal, not this. It's B, the correct answer. RN Kumar is correct. So 6th B is the correct answer. That is warranty. Nikita, Thomas, Aishwarya, Sunil, Bhuvan, Vicky Kumar, Aditi, Mohammed Khan, Sunil, Akilendeshwari. I can see your answers. So all those who have said condition, it is wrong. Why you're saying condition? Something which is collateral to the main purpose of contract is known as warranty, children. You forgot, you've not revised what is condition, what is warranty. Conditions are those stipulations which are very important part of the contract. I will not buy the goods if you'll not fulfill this condition. I told you I want a Dom's pencil. It should be blue with having white stripes. Then I want this only. But if you have given me this pencil, and the lead is broken, it's not in a workable condition. Or maybe some repair or damages needs to be done. Like remember in the car that you have purchased, the horn was having some problem. So you wanted to get that horn replaced. So it is a breach of warranty, something which is related to the main purpose of a contract, but it is not the main essence of the contract. All right. So you have to remember the basic things, children. It's a very important definition. Muhammad Khan says how it is warranty. I hope Muhammad Khan, now it's clear. Sunil Sharma is saying that video is not available on the app. We are watching from YouTube. So I hope others are also able to watch it from wherever you people are watching. Sarvesh, I hope now it's clear. All right. Hemil sir, आप एक बारी देख लीजिए. Children are facing some problem on the app, I think. Okay, so should I continue or we have to wait because then they can. It's clear. All right, then it's fine. All right, all right. So breach of warranty may be treated as breach of condition. So true or false? Breach of warranty may be treated as breach. ध्यान से क्वेश्चन आप सुनेंगे और पढ़ेंगे फिर आंसर देंगे. Mr. Mohammed, you want me to say the question in Hindi? So breach of warranty को आप breach of condition की तरह treat कर सकते हैं, yes or no? Bhuvan Singh is the first one to give the correct answer. Tanmeet Kaur, great. Aryan, that's wrong. Okay, Abhishek. Okay, Miss Thomas, thank you so much for clarifying. Can you explain warranty? Sarvesh, I just talked about this topic of warranty as to non-existence of incumbrance. Now you can just back your video and listen to that answer once again. All right. Aditi, it's correct. Yashiraj, correct. Elfi Tangal, your answer is again wrong. I don't know why. Manish Jain, don't worry. It's getting rectified. You can carry on the lectures from YouTube. Ayushi, correct. Gufran, correct. Sunil. Abhishek, that's correct. Sadhna Singh, correct. Nikita, that's correct. So breach of warranty may be treated as breach of condition. Children, the correct answer is false. Why false, ma'am? Why it is false? Because it was breach of condition which can be treated as breach of warranty. Section 13. Section 13 typically tells you that breach of condition. Remember where the cases where we can treat the breach of condition as breach of warranty, where we don't want to part with the goods. We just want to claim the damages. Somebody is asking, ma'am, can we only claim the damages? Yes, in breach of warranty, you can only claim the damages. You cannot claim the money back. Mr. Abhishek Vishwakarma, that's correct. You can only claim the damages in case of breach of warranty. Breach of warranty can never be treated as breach of condition. Can you say that the horn is not working? I want to replace the entire car only. No, you cannot say that. That is only a damages or the horn that can be replacement can be done. But in case of breach of condition, say for example, you purchase a washing machine for washing woolen clothes and now it is not fulfilling the purpose and you just want to return it because there has been breach of implied condition and you want to return the goods and claim your money back. But somehow you become so attached to that washing machine because it is washing the cotton clothes very nicely. And you are staying at a place where it is coastal region and you generally have summers. So hardly you're using any woolens. So you're so satisfied with the machine, but there was something which is not breached has been happening. You wanted that it for woolen clothes, but that condition has been breached. But you have become so fond of that washing machine that you don't want to part with it. Now you can apply section 13 and you can voluntarily waive off the condition breach. You can tell the seller that I don't want to part with the goods. I want to treat my breach of condition as breach of warranty. So I will claim the damages for this. I will not return my goods. All right. So you have to be very careful while reading the questions. Now, this is again very, very interesting. A woman purchased fairness cream without disclosing to the seller that her skin is abnormally sensitive and it resulted into allergy consequently. Is the seller liable for it? What will be your answer? Will you say that yes, the seller is liable, or no, the seller is not liable? Or do you think that the seller is liable for medical expenses, or none of the above? What is the correct answer for question number 8? Yes, Abhishek Vishwakarma, your understanding what you have written in this message is absolutely correct. Mohammed Khan, what have you not understood in question number 6? You are asking again, you want me to explain question number 6, Mohammed Khan. Question number 6 में वो बोल रहा था कि जो stipulation main purpose होता है, contract के essential part होता है, वो condition है. जो stipulation collateral होती है, related होती है contract से, वो warranty होती है. तो जहां पे word collateral आ गया था, related की बात कर रहा था, तो that's why it was warranty. अगर मैं कहती stipulation which is essential to the main purpose of contract, which is very important part of the main purpose of contract, then your answer would have been correct. That is condition. I hope Mohammed अब आपको समझ आ गया है. Aryan, Thomas, Sadhna, Sarvesh, Tanmeet, Ananya, Nidhi, your answers are correct. Bhuvan, Manish, Samina, Manish Jain, I'm glad now you're sending the answers. Hopefully you can watch us now clearly. Ayush, Ayushi, Yashraj, Shri Kantyam, Miss Nikita, Alfi Thangal, all of you correct children. Great. Harshita, Anjali, Vipul, Sunil, Abhishek, Pramod, Manish, Ashutosh. Excellent. Everybody is correct. Seller is not liable. Why? Because this lady has not told, without disclosing the fact, rule of caveat emptor will become applicable. If you have certain kind of allergies, if you're not comfortable with any product, it is your duty to tell the seller that I am not comfortable with these kind of goods. Can you please replace it? Okay, yes, Miss Aisha Sood, that's absolutely correct. Sunil is also correct. Definitely, no, you cannot even claim damages. Sunil Sharma, that's wrong. You cannot hold him liable for the damages because rule of caveat emptor is applicable here. Seller is not liable for anything, neither for the return of goods nor for the damages. Clear? All right, let's do the another one. The doctrine of caveat emptor does not apply when the goods are bought by sample, when the goods are bought by sample as well as description, when the exact purpose is known to the seller and he is a regular dealer, and all of the above. When does the doctrine of caveat emptor does not apply? So what are the cases where it does not apply? Remember, we have done certain exceptions to the rule of caveat emptor. Let me see the correct answer, whether you can figure it out or not. I'm waiting for the answer for the 9th one, children. Sadhna is correct. Sunil, Shrikanta, Nikita, Anjali, Niklesh, Ashutosh, Ruchika, Aryan. All of you are correct, children. Niklesh, that's not correct. You have to read the question, all the parts of the answers carefully. All right. Many of you have sent mixed answers. Somebody saying only C, somebody saying D. All of the above is the correct answer, children. You forgot we have discussed the exceptions to the rule of caveat emptor. Let me just show it to you. What are the exceptions to the rule of caveat emptor? That means caveat emptor is not applicable where the goods are being sold by sample, where the goods are being sold by sample as well as description. And regarding fitness as to quality or use, what was the exception in that case? Where you have told the seller the purpose for which the goods are required. So this is the basic sense where you have to also point. C is definitely there, caveat emptor is not applicable, but there are certain other exceptions also to the rule of caveat emptor. You have to remember these 8 exceptions. So where you have sold the goods by description, if seller has come to your shop and a buyer has come to your shop and he has told the purpose for which the goods are needed, it has to be as per description. If you are the seller, you're showing a sample, then you must sell the goods which should correspond to your sample. Okay, Vicky Kumar, stipulation, the first lecture, you can go and listen to that. We have discussed at length what is stipulation. As of now, simply remember stipulation is the representations made by the seller. When the seller is trying to sell his goods, he uses certain statements in order to influence the buyer so that he should buy your goods. That is the meaning of stipulation. And most of you have sent the correct answer. D is absolutely correct. 9th ka D, all of the above will be correct answer. Okay, let's do this last one. In case the goods are sold by sample, the goods shall correspond with the sample. Otherwise, the buyer can reject the goods. Buyer cannot reject the goods. Contract is terminated. Seller is liable to punishment. What will happen if the goods are sold by sample? And the goods shall correspond with the sample. Otherwise, what will happen? Okay, Swati Giri, that's fine. Niklesh, that's correct. You are correct this time, sending the answer for the very first shot. Very good. Aryan Kumar. Dhruvansh, that's correct. Akhilandeshwar, Lafpreet, Thomas, Gufran, the previous one was also correct, children. In case the goods are sold by sample, and if the goods are not Tanmeet, Alfie Tangal, all right, good children, Yashraj, Niti, Ashwani, Sarvesh, Sadhna, Lafpreet, Thomas, Omkar, Ayushi. All right, Yash Chandak, that's fine. As far as you people are able to see and listen to it, that's what the purpose is getting solved. Miss Pratibha, that's correct. Answer is correct. Samina Abdul, your answer is wrong. Gufran, your answer is also absolutely wrong this time. Ashutosh, correct. Akhilandeshwar, not correct. Dhruvansh, Panjwani, absolutely correct. Okay, many of you again are sending mixed answers. Nikita is correct, Aditi is correct, Sunil, Ruchika, Sunil Sharma, Muhammad Khan, all of you are correct, children. So the correct answer is simple. Buyer can reject the goods. If the goods are not as per the sample, you will reject the goods and claim your money back. Contract is terminated. Seller is liable to punishment. The terms are used just to confuse you, children. What is the actual right? Once the breach of implied condition has happened, you can simply cancel the contract and you return the goods and claim your money. That's it. All right. All right. Thank you so much for listening patiently to the MCQs and clearing it. So all of you have scored good marks, and I hope that you will get the same kind of marks when you give your final CA Foundation Law paper as well. So now let's proceed ahead and start with another new chapter, that is transfer of ownership and delivery of goods. So children, we have been meeting since last week and we have been listening that one person is seller, one is buyer. We also understood that sale of goods was part of Indian Contract Act. It has been extracted from the Indian Contract Act and made its own separate act. Then we understood how the ownership gets transferred. I am the seller. I sell you this water bottle. You are the buyer. This is my bottle. I am the owner. Once I sell it to you, you become the owner. Today, we will be talking how this ownership will get transferred, how actually the goods delivery will take place. I told you that there are 3 types of delivery: actual, symbolic, and constructive delivery. In today's chapter, we will be understanding how the property in the goods passes. So the first session and the first topic at large will be passing of the property of goods. So quickly tell me, what is the meaning of property of goods? No, not to worry, Mr. Gufran. It's okay if you got confused. I hope now you got clear with that point. That contract is terminated point was actually given to confuse all of you only. So the correct answer in the previous one was buyer can reject the goods. Okay, no problems. All right, children, now you have to answer me. What is the meaning of property under sale of goods? Who can tell me what is the meaning of property? Very good, Niklesh and Arun Kumar, the first one to give the answers. Ma'am, property means ownership of goods. And there are two types of properties. Can you remind me? I forgot what were the two types of properties which we have discussed. One is dash property, another is dash property. You have to tell me because it's your revision. Very good. All of you have said it's ownership of goods. So I'm asking what was the category of property and which property is applicable under Sale of Goods Act? Good, Pratibha, Akshay, Sunil, Ayushi, Harshita, V, Ashutosh, Samina, Vicky, all of you, good answers. Mohammed Khan, good. Yes, now you have to tell me what were the two properties that we have discussed and which property we talk under sale of goods. Excellent, ma'am. It's general and specific property. And under sale of goods, we talk about general property of goods. Special property is always part of your bailment or the cases of pledge. So pledge and bailment kind of cases are covered under where we only say that the special property in the goods is transferred. That is, you can dispose of or use the goods only under under special circumstances. However, the general ownership and the sale of goods get transferred. We always talk about general property of goods. So today we will be understanding in the first part, that is how the property in the goods is passed from seller to the buyer. Second point that we'll be covering is risk prima facie passes with the property. Now, what is the meaning of risk, children? Meaning क्या है? Risk है क्या? If I tell you that I am going to sell you the goods and you are the buyer, you will purchase the goods. Now, when the goods becomes yours, you become the owner. So tomorrow, if the goods get damaged or destroyed, who is going to bear the loss? You will bear the loss or I will bear the loss? Obviously, ma'am, you were the seller. You have already sold the goods. We are the buyer. So we are the owner. We will bear the loss. So whosoever is the owner of the goods will bear the loss. Write down this very important line. Under sale of goods, whosoever is the owner of the goods, is said to bear the risk of ownership. Whosoever is the owner of the goods is bound to bear the risk of ownership of those goods. Which means once the goods are sold, and the buyer becomes the owner of the goods, then he bears the risk of loss on those goods. Now let's take another example. I am the seller and I told you I'll be selling you the goods, but I've still not sold you the goods. Remember that MCQ question number 30 that we discussed in the previous class where I told you delay in delivery of goods. So now I am the seller and I told you that I'll be sending the goods to you by 10th of June. And today it is 15th of June. I have still not sold you the goods. And the fire came out in my godown and all the goods got destroyed. Now who will bear the risk of loss? Tell me. I, the seller, or you, the buyer, will bear the risk? Now you have to answer me. Who will bear the risk? If I was a seller and I told you that I'll be selling you the goods, and the goods were still lying in my godown and I made a delay in delivering the goods and the goods got destroyed, who is bound to bear the risk of loss? Risk follows ownership. Excellent, Mr. Omkar. Yes, Selfie Tangal, that is a case of agreement to sell. Absolutely clear. I agreed to make a sale and the goods are still lying with me. I am the owner. Samina, Niklesh, all of you are correct. Seller will bear the loss because goods were still lying with me. I am the owner of the goods. So you have to see minutely who is the owner of the goods. So risk follows ownership. Whosoever is the owner will be liable to bear the loss. Point number 3 deals with transfer of title to the goods. Title, remember another word that we use for ownership. सारा chapter ही ownership की बात कर रहे हैं. पहले passing of property. Property is also ownership. Risk passes with property. Again, whosoever is the owner. Third topic, transfer of title. Title also means ownership. Can I sell the goods? Only if I am the owner of the goods, I can sell the goods. So section 27 to 30 teaches us who are the people who are not the owner of the goods, but still they can sell the goods. All right. And section 31 to 44, very, very interesting topics. Here we completely talk about performing the contract of sale. So I am the seller, you are the buyer, date of delivery has come, and today I'm going to come and deliver you the goods. How that delivery is going to happen, we'll be talking in this particular section 31 to 44, where we discuss about the performing of the contract of sale and also learn about the date and time of delivery of goods. So let us first understand transfer of ownership. So children, there are 3 stages in which the transfer of goods from the seller happens to the buyer. The number 1 stage is, number 1 decides the legal rights and liabilities of sellers and buyer. So with the passing of property, we decide who becomes the owner. Delivery of goods, you all know, is the transferring of the possession of goods, actually physically handling the goods. And the risk passes with the property means whosoever is the owner right now will be bearing the risk of loss. If buyer has become the owner, he will bear the risk. If seller is the owner, he will bear the risk. So first we discuss about how the property gets passed. So in this chapter, it is divided into 3 different categories. So the first stage is we'll be learning whether it is a specific good, a certain goods, and a certain goods. What was the category of goods? So on the basis of category of goods, we decide how the risk needs to be passed. After that, we talk about the delivery of goods, how the goods needs to be delivered. If it is something which needs to be done, some polishing, painting has to be done, then first complete that polishing, painting, and then send the goods to the buyer. And how the passing of risk happens along with the property in the goods. So passing of property simply means passing of ownership. If the property has passed to the buyer, the risk in the goods sold is of the buyer and not of the seller. Now, here is a very interesting example that I have for all of you is that you went to a shopkeeper to purchase certain amount of chocolates. So you have purchased 5-6 packets of chocolates and you have already made the payment and you have purchased this packet. Now you told the seller, the shopkeeper, that you have certain work in the market. So you can't carry this heavy box of chocolates along with you. So I'm keeping my bag of chocolates over here. And on my way back home, I will just pick it up and take it back. Suddenly a thief came in the shop of the seller and all your chocolates got stolen. Who will bear this risk of loss? Is it your liability or is it seller's liability? Tell me. You have to send me the answers. Who will bear the risk of loss? Is it your responsibility or seller's responsibility? If your goods have got stolen from seller's shop, either you will bear the loss or the seller will bear the loss. Who is going to bear the loss? You have to answer me. Okay, in the previous one, all of you have sent the correct answer. Very good, Mr. Vipul Kumar, Nidhi, Samina, Sunil, Ayushi, Tanmeet, Harshita, Pratibha, all of you are correct. Absolutely correct, Mr. Bhuvan, RN Kumar. All right, that's nice. So many correct answers. Very nice. Buyer will have to bear the loss, Mr. Sunil Sharma. That's absolutely correct. Pratibha, why are you saying seller will bear the loss? That's not correct. If seller accepts to keep the chocolates in his shop, it is seller's responsibility. This is what Mr. Niklesh is saying. Okay, Niklesh, that's absolutely wrong. I'll just tell you why. Seller was in the position of Bailey, RN Kumar is saying. Okay, all right. He must keep the goods safe for returning it to the bailiff. But Mr. RN Kumar, did I told you that I'm making him as a Bailey? Did I ask him to hold the goods and you'll be responsible? I'll just clear your doubt on this. So the correct answer for this question that I've framed for you is buyer will be liable because he was the owner of the goods. Swati Giri, seller is not responsible. Possession of the goods has been passed. Did you hear the question correctly, children? I told you that you have already sold the goods to the buyer. You have purchased the goods, but you told him that I have certain work in the market and I'm just dropping my goods here. I'm just keeping them for a while, and on my way back, I'll pick up my goods. So here in this case, the ownership of the property has already been passed to the buyer. It is your mistake as a buyer. You have to take full care of your goods. Why are you holding the seller responsible? He is nowhere to hold the responsibility for your goods. But yes, children, RN Kumar, when you told me, and another girl has also written, that seller is responsible as a Bailey. This is a very good and correct point. As a man of ordinary prudence, the seller should have taken care of the goods. But if the goods have got stolen, he himself has also bared the loss of property. His goods have also got stolen from his shop. यहाँ पे आप किसी के गुड्स की गारंटी नहीं ले सकते हो, आप ओनर नहीं हो. So once the ownership has been transferred, I am just asking who is going to bear the risk. So buyer is going to bear the risk of loss. Simple reason being, buyer is responsible because the goods, the property, the ownership on the goods has been passed to the buyer. Had I told him that, please, I'll be buying these chocolates on my way back and have not made the sale, I've not done the purchase, then if the goods get stolen, seller was the owner, it will be 100% seller's responsibility to bear the loss. But once the ownership gets transferred, the goods have now become buyer's property. Therefore, 100% buyer will be held liable and responsible for his ownership of these goods. Clear ho gaya? I hope this point is clear. So passing of property, wherever you're making your notes, you can write down this example of chocolates and the picture that we have, scenario that we have discussed. If you are the owner, you will bear the risk. If seller is the owner, he will bear the risk. Now, these specific and a certain goods we will do from the study material, because a very nice detailed explanation has been given in your study material, and I don't want to skip a single line of that. So you can refer to my presentation for your minimum notes, but for the maximum information, we have to follow study for this chapter. So this is what we have discussed: passing of property and then delivering the goods and then finally giving the risk to another party. So it says the general rules of passing the property from seller to buyer is that identification of goods. Once you have identified the goods, you went to the shop, you told him, I want these 5 chocolates. He picked up from the shelf, he packed it for you. The goods were unascertained when they were lying on the shelf. He picked it up, he packed it for you. Goods become specific and ascertained. The ownership gets transferred. Fair enough. You all remember this thing. Uncertain goods ko specific kaise karte hain? When we pick up it from the lot and we pack it and give it to the buyer. Intention of the parties. Now, section 19, subsection 2 clearly tells you that how will you ascertain the goods? Either it depends upon the terms of the contract, or the conduct of the parties, or circumstances of each case. We both as a buyer and seller have decided that we will do an agreement to sell, and further the goods will be sold on a particular date. Then it becomes future goods, and when that date comes, you have to deliver the goods. So it says the primary rule for determining how the property passes is we have to see what is the category of goods. All these 3 points on the basis of terms and terms of conditions of the contract, if you would have seen, whenever you do your online purchases also, a term is written over there at the down, terms and conditions are applicable. So you cannot simply say that the ownership gets transferred immediately or on a specific date. You have to read the sentence completely. There are certain terms and conditions which the buyer and seller may agree in addition to that contract. So section 19, subsection 2 clearly tells you that property is transferred depending upon the intention of parties as well. If I am sending you the goods via ship, a huge lot of goods are coming. I also want my payment on time. So I might tell the person who has taken the goods from the basis of transportation, I might ask the person only deliver the goods once my payment is made clear. So such kind of conditions which I'm attaching with my delivery of goods are known as certain terms and conditions which are fixed between buyer and seller. Here you cannot transfer the ownership immediately unless and until my conditional undertaking of payment has been satisfied. So when we read the chapter ahead, section 23, 21, 23 subsection 2, section 24, 25, all these points will come and you will understand what are the kind of terms and conditions which are attached with the transferring of the ownership and delivery of goods. But before that, let us quickly read the primary rules for deciding the passing of property. What are the general rules? How does the property gets transferred in respect of specific goods, certain goods, and uncertain goods? So number one case is section 19 children deals with specific and certain goods. So फटाफट से एक test हो जाए. What are the specific and certain goods? You remember? The goods which have been specifically identified Mrs. Sadhna Singh is writing, if buyer said that I will pay you if you will protect my goods and seller agrees. See, Mrs. Sadhna Singh, this is again a term and condition that you have attached. So if certain terms and conditions have been attached, then you follow those terms which you have made in the contract. So there is always an assumption and provision that if you are using such terms, then you can include that. But in that specific question which I asked, I was silent on such terms and conditions. So if you go to the previous question without certain terms, then buyer only becomes responsible. But if you want to impose such condition, then you can hold him responsible. Vicky Kumar, you can ask what you did not understand and you want me to explain in Hindi, because we cannot take the entire lecture in Hindi. We have mixed crowd of students. So you can ask me, Vicky, if you have not understood anything. Yes, Miss Thomas, that's absolutely correct. Okay. So I just told you what are the specific and certain goods, the goods which are the existing goods. Yes, Ms. Tanmeet Kaur, absolutely correct, identified and agreed upon. The goods which are already lying in the shopkeeper's shop, in the seller's shop, and they are existing goods and they have been specifically identified. Remember that example of Oreo chocolate, which was specifically peanut butter flavor only. So that kind of product is known as a specific and identified goods. So in case of the contract is for the specific and certain goods, here the property in the goods passes immediately. You don't even have to wait for anything. You have to see whether the goods are in deliverable state or they are to be put in deliverable state, or when the price needs to be determined. Again, this specific goods category is divided further into 3 sections. 3 cases, 3 subsections have been defined. So we will not read the subsection, otherwise we'll get confused. So we simply come to the analysis. It says stages of goods while passing the property. What you have to remember is, are the goods in deliverable state? When does the good come in deliverable state? The goods are lying over there in my shelf. I picked it up, I give it to you. the property in the goods passes immediately. If the goods are in deliverable state, means they are ready to be taken away. There is an unconditional contract, that is the property passes immediately, and it is immaterial whether the payment and price of the goods and delivery of goods is postponed. So it's very, very important to know that whether the goods are in deliverable state or are yet to be put in deliverable state. So section 20 simply tells you, first we are talking about specific and certain goods. Under specific goods, we have three categories, children. Number one, when the goods are in deliverable state, simply write down against this paragraph, property in the goods passes immediately. Example number one, X goes into shop and buys a television and asks the shopkeeper for its home delivery. Shopkeeper agrees to do it. The property becomes the property of Mr. X immediately. Now, many a time when you go to purchase big products like a television or a big washing machine or maybe a furniture bed for your house. So generally what happens, you make the payment and you ask the shopkeeper that please arrange some big cart for my things to be bought home. And they will upload the products in that big cart or trucks and the loading will be done. So generally when we purchase, say for example, you purchase a colored new nice screen television, and you made the payment of 75,000 at the shop itself. It becomes your property immediately. Here it is assumed that the cart person is acting as buyer's agent. He's only helping you in the delivery of goods. He's only bringing the goods from one place to another. All right. So we have to read it very carefully. The goods are already in deliverable state. Yes, if it had been a situation that you have asked me for a television, but I told you that there are further functioning which still needs to be done, the goods are still not in a ready to deliverable state position, then I told you that you have to wait for a few days. Let me put the goods in deliverable state and I will inform you. Then children, you come to the second category. Then the goods are not in deliverable state. Section 20 becomes applicable only and only if the goods are in deliverable state, means nothing needs to be done. You pick it up and you give it to the buyer. So all of you will write down under section 20, when the goods are completely in a deliverable state and nothing additional needs to be done by the seller. In that case, the property in the goods passes from the seller to the buyer immediately. Let's come to section 21. Specific goods to be put in deliverable state. Now, if there is a contract where the goods are not in deliverable state, here the property in the goods will not pass unless you put them in deliverable state. Number one, you have to put them in deliverable state. Number two, the buyer has the notice of it. So in the first case, it was immediately. In the second case, you have to put it in deliverable state, number 1 point, and you have to give the notice to the buyer. If I put the goods ready, I made the television absolutely ready for you, I packed it, and I did not call you. Can you say the property in the goods has passed to you? No. It is my responsibility. जब तक मैं बताऊंगी नहीं, तब तक पता कैसे चलेगा आपको goods तैयार हो गए? बताना भी तो पड़ेगा ना? You have to inform the buyer. So here, if the goods are put in deliverable state and you give the notice to the buyer, property is set to be passed. Now it is your responsibility, your duty. You have to come and get the goods collected from my shop. Let's read example number 2. Peter buys a laptop from an electronics store and asks for a home delivery. Shopkeeper agrees. Laptop does not have Windows operating system. अब बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम उसको चाहिए था एंड वही उसमें नहीं था. शॉपकीपर ने कहा ओके, आई विल इंस्टॉल इट एंड कॉल पीटर बिफोर मेकिंग द डिलीवरी. नाउ हियर he still has to do something. Seller needs to put it in a deliverable state and inform the buyer, that is Peter, that the goods are ready. So the property will pass only after shopkeeper, number 1, has installed the operating system, and number 2, intimated the buyer about it. Now, if the laptop gets stolen from the shop, It is buyer's responsibility. Why, ma'am? Because buyer को आकर अपने goods ले जाने चाहिए. Obviously, there is a management of time. There should not be any delay. So he told the buyer that come by 10th of May, but the buyer did not came till 15th or 18th of May. And the goods got stolen from shopkeeper's shop. 100% Mr. Peter will have to bear the loss. Because section 21 कह रहा है, मैं नहीं कह रही हूँ. Section 21 में clearly लिखा है कि once the goods are put in deliverable state, buyer has been informed, it becomes buyer's responsibility to quickly come and take your goods. Because you are the owner, property in the goods has passed. All right. So section 21, remember, two things have to be done by the seller. He needs to put the goods in deliverable state and inform the buyer about it. Point number 3, section 22 talks about specific goods in a deliverable state when the seller has to do something in order to find the price of the goods. Now here, section 22 typically talks about determining the price of the goods. Once the price of the goods has been decided, property gets transferred. It says there is a contract for specific goods. Number 1, the goods should be specific and existing. But the seller has to doing the weighing, measuring, testing, or any other act for finding the price of the goods. So you went outside to purchase, these vendors keeps coming for selling vegetables in your streets. So you went outside to purchase 5 kgs of apples. So you told the vendor person that please pick up these apples and just weigh them. And I want 5 kgs of apples and I will pay you and the sale will get complete. Now, don't you think just by picking the apples, the sale happens? No, ma'am. We'll have to pick up. He'll do the weighing. He will check the weight. 5 kg apples have been picked. He will pack. He will tell you the price. Then only the complete contract of sale will happen. Once he has informed you and you're agreed to pay the price, then only the sale of goods, that is the property, gets transferred from the seller to the buyer. So where the seller has to do such weighing, measuring, testing in order to find the price of the goods. Goods का price अभी determined नहीं है. तो जहां price की बात है वहां section 22 applicable हो जाएगा. Here the property will pass only once this buying, measuring, weighing has happened and the buyer has notice of it. उसको बता तो दो. You told this buyer that I will be packing all these carpets for you and I will do the measuring and weighing and then I will tell you the price. You did the weighing and measuring, but you did not inform the buyer. Sale is not complete. If you have informed the buyer, then the property gets transferred to the buyer. A sold the carpets to the company. So here company is the buyer and A is the seller, which were to be laid down. Laid means that you have to spread the carpets in their company. Carpets were delivered, but it was stolen before they could be laid. Whose responsibility is it? You tell me first. Who will be held liable? And why? So there were carpets which were to be laid. There were carpets to be laid, and now I have bought those carpets. I've done all the weighing, measuring, and I'm delivering the carpets to the company's premises. But before they could be laid, they could be spread in the company, they got stolen. Who will be held liable? Ayushi Jain, we are doing exactly the same question that you have asked for ascertaining the price. We are on section 22 only. Example number 3 we are doing. Yes, Manish Jain, if seller did not call the buyer, then buyer will not be responsible. Mr. Gufran Hussain, if the goods get destroyed while delivery, if seller was the owner, he will bear the loss. If buyer was the owner, he will bear the loss. So we simply have to see who is the owner. So Mr. Bhuvan Singh, when we talk about delivery of goods, there these points will get clear. Ms. Thomas, when the goods are in deliverable state and the buyer has been informed about its delivery, then if the goods get damaged during delivery, buyer is only responsible. Very good, Sarvesh, Manish, Niklesh, Nidhi, Aryan, Mohammed, Sunil, Ritu wrong. Tanmeet is correct. Seller will be held liable. Yes, ma'am, because the contract is complete only when they're laid on the floor. Very good, Sunil Sharma, Harshita, you're also correct. All of your children correct. Yes, Ritu Tiwari, you are right now. Seller will be responsible. Why seller is responsible? Because the goods are yet to be laid. So अब सबको क्लियर हो गया. प्राइस डिटरमिन करने के लिए तो हमें उसको ले करना जरूरी था ना. So since they have a carpet was not in deliverable state because they have still not been laid, therefore property has not passed to the buyer company. Therefore only seller will be held liable. A will be held liable in this case. लिख के रखो. A will be held liable. All right. So let's take a short break over here. You'll just read all these 3 points that we have discussed. And after the break, we'll continue. Meanwhile, I'll check if you have sent any queries as well. Let's take a small break here. All right. Good afternoon, students. Welcome back, all of you. So let us start from where we left. Before that, let me just have a look at your queries. I hope, Aditi, now it's clear. No worries. You can send your doubts over this admin portal. I can get your doubts even if you're facing problem in that app video. You can see it on YouTube and you can send your queries here. There's no problem. All right. Nitil Soni, your answer was correct for the other one. Seller is responsible. Aisha Sood, you were correct. Mr. Abhishek Vishkarma is asking that if I inform a buyer that look, your goods are put into deliverable state and the ownership is transferred and the fire occurred in the godown, then the buyer will be liable or seller as per section 21. Mr. Abhishek, once the goods are put in deliverable state and the buyer has been informed, prima facie the property gets transferred to the buyer. You're absolutely correct in thinking that the goods are still with me, the possession is still with me, but today we will understand the difference between the word possession and the ownership. So law clearly tells you once the ownership has been transferred, then the person who is the owner will be liable. Yes, Mr. Sunil Sharma, a certain and specific are words interchangeably used. I attended a request you to solve the problem. Mr. Manish Chen, don't worry, and Ritu Tiwari, you also. The technical department is taking care of the problem that is occurring on the website, so don't worry. All right. So I hope all the doubts have been cleared. Let's move forward. The goods which are put in deliverable state, section 21 is also done, and something has to be done to determine the price of the goods. That is also absolutely clear. In that case, once the price has been determined, once the goods are made ready to be delivered, the buyer has the notice of it, the property is set to be transferred. The goods must be ascertained whenever there is a contract for the sale of unascertain goods. Now, children, B point is talking about the second category. So we have understood, first of all, you should be very clear what is the category on which we are talking about. So till the time you keep thinking, ma'am, iska question ka answer kahan tha, ye topic kahan hai, till that time you stay confused. So section specific and ascertain goods, section 19, we discussed 19 subsection 1 and 2, the identification of goods and the intention of parties. Further, the three categories, how the goods are put in deliverable state, section 20, section 21, and section 22. So this was category A, that is specific and ascertain goods. Now we are going to talk about B, that is passing of property of unascertain goods. What happened in case of unascertain goods? Now, this is very, very important and very, very tricky. So I want all the eyes and ears here clearly. It says, first of all, you have to do the ascertainment of goods. No property is passed unless the goods are ascertained. What is unascertained goods? There are 100 of packets of salt lying in my shop behind my back. So there are 100 packets of salt lying. Now you came to my shop and you told me, ma'am, we want to buy 1 packet of salt. So all these 100 packets of salt which are lying in my shop are known as unascertained goods. They're yet to be identified. We are not sure, they're not specific. टाटा सॉल्ट के 100 पैकेट पड़े हैं, सेम दिखते हैं, सेम 1 kg के पैकेट्स है. All of them which are lying in a lot, which are lying in a bulk are known as unascertained goods. Now I picked up 1 packet of salt, I packed it, I weighed it, I measured it, I told you the price, I gave the goods to you, you paid me the price. Moment I packed them and picked them, they become ascertained. And once they have become ascertained and you're ready to pay the price for that, property in the goods get transferred. ऐसा ही होता है. जब आप शॉप में जाते हैं, you tell the shopkeeper this is what we want and he finds it out, picks it up and packs it for you. Uncertain goods becomes a certain and the property in the goods is set to transfer. But sale of goods tells you in a little huge and understandable way. Section 23 subsection 1 and section 23 subsection 2, very, very important and interesting sections to understand. It says the rules for passing the property of uncertain goods. There are two stages. Number one stage is the goods must be in deliverable state. And number two stage is delivery of goods to a carrier. Now, who is this carrier? This carrier is, children, the transporter who is going to take the goods. Who is this carrier? The transporter who is going to carry the goods. Transporter who is going to carry the goods. Delivery to the carrier for transmission. Transporter who is going to carry the goods. So it says uncertain goods, you have to see the two important rules. That is, number one, if the goods are to be sold by description, once we have identified those goods by description and they are put in deliverable state, the property is passed to the buyer. The second is the case where the goods are given to the transporter. Remember all those documents of title to goods, bill of lading, railway receipts? Here we are going to understand how the delivery of goods happened through those documents of title to goods. Now, sale of uncertain goods by description. So let us one by one understand section 23 subsection 1. It says, wherever there is a contract for uncertain as well as future goods. So two categories he has covered, uncertain also and future goods also. And the goods are being sold by description. So how do we sell by description? I just now told you I want a packet of Tata salt, 1 kg. So I've described the goods. The goods were lying in bulk. Now, when you pick up the good of that description, put it in a deliverable state, and you do an unconditional appropriation. Very important word. Unconditional appropriation means you are attaching no condition to that. You are not attaching any condition. Remember when I began with this chapter, I told you sometimes the seller attaches the condition. For example, you make me the payment first, then only I will give you the goods. Or I will give you the goods when you go out of my shop. Or when you come and give me the advance payment, then only the contract will set to happen. I'm not attaching any such conditions. I'm just picking up the packet, weighing and measuring it and giving it to you. Here, where unconditional appropriation has been done, either by the seller or by the buyer. Now, this is very interesting. Have you ever been to supermarket? You remember when we were small kids and we used to enjoy taking the trolleys in the supermarket. अब अपने parents के साथ जब जाते हैं supermarket, तो वो बड़ा मजा आता है. वो ऐसे ट्रॉली लेकर हम सामान उठा रहे हैं और डाल रहे हैं. करते हो आप grocery shopping? You go and pick up your own choice soaps and you pick up your deodorants and biscuits packets and chocolates for sure. That's why parents don't prefer to take kids along for shopping for the grocery because the bill becomes huge. So now just tell me, this was on a lighter part. So now just tell me that when you pick up these goods and put it up in your basket for purchasing. So law says this is what you have done, unconditional appropriation. Either you have chosen the goods or the seller picks it up and packs it for you. So when you are roaming with the basket in the shopping mall and you pick up the goods, that means you are appropriating the goods. You are finding out and collecting them for yourself. And once the goods matches for your description and you're ready to pay for them and they're ready for delivery, property in the goods is set to pass to the buyer. Such assent means such acceptance may be expressed or implied. You can either express that, look, I want this kind of goods, or by picking it up and getting it packed is implied by your conduct. So simple है, words terminology बहुत ज़्यादा use हो रही है, but appropriation of goods is very, very simple, children. Section 23 subsection 1 basically means appropriation of goods. So this is the meaning of appropriation of goods. See, analysis of section 23. So one thing which I really love about study material is it always gives you sections. First, it tells you how the law has been written, and then it gives you analysis, which becomes the simpler language, which actually you have to learn and follow. So you can basically pick up it from here. That is, appropriation of goods means selecting of the goods for performance of the contract with the mutual consent of buyer and seller. Now, what is the meaning of mutual consent? Only if you really want to buy it, not just picking up and just for viewing it. So there should be consent of buyer and seller. You should be willing to buy the goods. You have selected the goods with the intention of performing the contract. So number one, there should be the sale of unascertain or future goods. This rule is applicable only for unascertain and future goods. And the goods should be of the description. You have given me a description and I'm giving you the goods as per the description. The goods should be in deliverable state. Very important. यहाँ पे अभी deliverable state में लाना है वो वाली position नहीं है. Like in section 20, the goods were in deliverable state. In the same way, in section 23, subsection 1, the goods must be in deliverable state. That means they can be ready to be taken away. And it must be unconditional appropriation, as distinguished from an intention to appropriate, either by delivery to the buyer or his agent. That means there should be no condition attached to it. लिख लो point D में, simpler language में, there should be no condition attached to the sale of goods. And appropriation can be done either by the seller. Seller will ask the buyer, is this correct? He will do it. Or by the buyer, by asking seller, can I just pick and pack up these goods? Assent means acceptance, can be express or implied, and can be given before or after appropriation. So either you can tell him before appropriating the goods that this is what I want, or maybe after appropriation of the goods. So examiner has many times given you straight away question also in exam. What is the meaning of appropriation goods and what are the essential elements? So ma'am, उसका आंसर हमने क्या लिखना है? उसका आंसर आपने word to word ये लिखना है, तो आज learn कर लेना. अगर आपके May 23 एग्जाम में ये क्वेश्चन आता है तो ये 6 मार्क्स का क्वेश्चन स्ट्रेट अवे आप ऑन कर सकते हैं इफ यू हैव लर्न दिस क्वेश्चन. आई हैव मेड यू अंडरस्टैंड इट. द मीनिंग इज वेरी क्लियर. इन लॉ चिल्ड्रन मेनी टाइम्स यू हैव टू मेमोराइज द थिंग्स बिकॉज यू हैव टू राइट द पेपर. कई बार हमें ना चीजें बहुत इजी लगती है, समझ आ जाती हैं, बट ना वो फिर हम सोचते हैं यार नंबर नहीं आए. नंबर लिखने से आएंगे. तो लॉ के पेपर में अगर आप सोचोगे कि हमें समझ आ गया, ट्रांसपोर्टर को गुड्स दिए तो वो ट्रक में लोड हो गए, मैम मुझे आता तो सारा था बट मुझे प्रेजेंट करना नहीं आया आंसर. क्रॉस. Presentation of answers is also very important. I know you people keep asking me. We will do, definitely we'll be doing in the next class. Before we start the chapters, we will first complete the few question papers, mock test papers, questions which have come in your exams. I will teach you how you have to present the answers to that, because presentation of answers is equally important as far as the learning of the content is. But children, as far as these straightaway questions, theoretical questions, please try learning them side by side. Now is the time when you're doing it, you have time to learn it. Don't keep it postponing. So जितना हम procrastinate करते हैं उतना फिर वो रह ही जाता है, फिर वो delay ही रहे. तो इसको आज ही learn कर लेना appropriation of goods को. And remind me in the next class, I'll take your test out of the appropriation of goods. Clear हो गया सबको 23 subsection 1. Now let's do 23 subsection 2. एक तो हो गया subsection 1 जहां पे हमने appropriate कर दिए. We have selected the goods either by the buyer or by the seller and they were as per the description and we got them packed, properties transferred. Now 23 subsection 2 says where the seller deliver the goods to the buyer or the carrier or any other bailee. Here I'm not giving the goods directly. Maybe I'm giving to the buyer or to his carrier or any other bailee for transmission to the buyer. Transmission means for transporting or for giving it further to the buyer. And I do not reserve the right of disposal. Very important line. That means I have unconditionally appropriated the goods. Once I have given the goods to the courier over here is acting as the buyer's agent. If A, the seller, has given the goods to B, who is a transport agency, then this B, a carrier, is acting as the buyer's agent. It is assumed as if the goods has been given to the buyer itself. Why? Because seller has not reserved the right of disposal. First of all, what is the meaning of right of disposal? Disposal क्या होता है? Right of disposal means how I will use the goods. So I have this mobile phone. I am the owner. I have the right of disposal. I can throw it. I can use it. I can gift it to anyone. Whatever I want to do, I am the owner. I can do with this good. Now I have given it for transporting to a carrier. A buyer has made a deal with him. He is sending me money. I have given this to a carrier. And I have no right on this. I'm not reserving my right. I have said that please take this good and give it to the buyer. The right of disposal means the right of usage of such goods has not been reserved. That right of usage is free. The buyer can do whatever he wants to do with the goods. If I would have told the person, remember in the beginning I told you where I've loaded the goods in a ship, and I told the person that don't make the payment, don't give the goods to the buyer unless and until I get my payment. Because I'm sending huge lot of goods on ship. I'm really worried whether I get my payment of 5-6 lakhs rupees or not. So I am reserving the right of disposal. I'm not giving the ownership. I'm doing conditional appropriation. So where the seller is asking the carrier not to deliver the goods, stopping him in the way, he's reserving his right of disposal, such kind of terms is used, then it is not a conditional appropriation, but section 23 subsection 2 specifically tells you that here, once the goods has been given to a carrier, you are not reserving your right of disposal. That means goods have been given to the buyer. Now, if the goods get lost or damaged, who will bear the loss? Children, tell me. Now, if goods get lost or damaged, who will bear the loss? Sunil Sharma, prima facie, we are yet to do section 25. So I'll teach you there. Yes, I'm not getting your answers. Who will bear the loss? Yes, children. In case of section 23, subsection 2, once the seller has given the goods to the carrier for transmitting to the buyer and the goods got lost or damaged, who will bear the loss? Yes, Mr. Yash Chandak, that's absolutely correct. Aryan Kumar, I hope right of disposal is now clear to you. Niklesh says the carrier will bear the loss. Okay. Abhishek is correct. Harshita, Arpi, Aryan, Tanmeet is correct. Thomas, you're wrong. Aisha Sood. Okay, that's correct. Buyer will bear the loss is the correct answer, children. So many of you sending, somebody saying buyer, somebody saying seller. So buyer will bear the loss. That is what I just taught you. Unconditional appropriation means once I have appropriated with the goods, I have given it to the carrier. That means the property in the goods is now passed from the seller to the buyer. Therefore, the goods have been appropriated. The property has been passed. I'm not reserving my right of disposal. Right of disposal means how to use the goods, how to dispose them off. I'm not reserving that right. I'm not holding any right on the goods. That means the property in the goods is now transferred. Therefore, buyer becomes the owner immediately. Let's read this example number 4. It says a bill of lading of railway parcel is made out in the name of the buyer and was sent on. The ownership passes from the seller to the buyer. The moment the bill of lading, document of title to goods, has been sent to the buyer, that means ownership has now been sent. In case any accidental loss or theft happens, seller will not be liable, children. Very important example. Once you have given the document of, remember in that example which we discussed, definition of document of title to goods, 4 copies of lorry receipt were made. One is with the seller, one is with the buyer, original copy was sent to the buyer, one was given to the transfer authorities and another one to the accounts department. So now the transfer authorities will check the copy with the buyer and buyer will get the goods. So why are you giving the goods to the buyer? Because he was the owner. So the moment your bill of lading or the railway receipts has been given out in the name of buyer, the ownership is transferred. Seller is not responsible if any loss or theft happens on the way. All right. Similarly, example number 5. M places an order for a book with a bookseller in Mumbai. He asks M to send the books by courier. Payment of the book was to be made by check. Now, this is very, very interesting. So M has placed an order for the book and the person who is going to sell him the book is in Mumbai. He asked him to send the books by courier. He has asked for the courier agency services for getting the books and the payment was to be made by check. Seller sends the book by courier and the book got lost in the way. Seller really wants the buyer to bear the loss. Why? Because it is an unconditional appropriation because of which buyer M has become the owner of the goods. Therefore, he will bear the risk of loss of the books on the way. Now, children, at times, such kind of things sound very unfamiliar and you'll be confused thinking that I have not even received the goods and I'm still bearing the loss. But section 23, subsection 2 typically tells you where there is an unconditional appropriation. Up in the same number, example number 5, if the seller has told him that look, only when your check payment gets cleared, only when I get my payment, only when I get cash, then only the good becomes yours, then children, it would have been a conditional appropriation. But if seller is quiet on that and he wants the buyer to bear the loss, he has already made it clear that the ownership is transferred. I am not holding any condition. Once I have delivered the goods to the courier, it will be assumed that this courier guy is acting as the agent of the buyer and buyer has to take the responsibility and liability of this book. All right. So section 23, subsection 2, where any unconditional appropriation has been done, seller will not be held liable, buyer will held liable. अब क्लियर हो गया? जो सुबह से ये पूछ रहे थे मैम अगर गुड्स ट्रांसपोर्टेशन में है तो कौन लाइबल है? Simple logic you have to apply. If seller is the owner, ownership is with the seller, seller will be liable. If ownership has been transferred to the buyer, buyer is liable. So if there are specific goods, goods are in deliverable state, immediately buyer becomes the owner. He will be liable. Goods are yet to be put in deliverable state. You put them in deliverable state, inform the buyer, buyer will be liable. You have done something which was to be done to find the price. You have informed the buyer, buyer is liable. Unascertain goods, you have made the goods ascertain by description, informed the buyer, buyer is liable. Delivering the goods to carrier, seller has not hold any condition. He has given the goods to the buyer's agent, that is carrier, for taking the goods to the buyer. Any problem occur, buyer is responsible. So see, till now, whatever we have discussed, we are holding the buyer responsible for the even transportation of goods. Now let us understand what is the meaning of goods sent on sale or approval basis. Let us go to a presentation because there we have made certain notes and examples also, which I want all of you to read out. So this is simply definition of unascertain, which we have already discussed. So this is again part of your chapter 1, definitions, just to make you understand how the certain goods and specific goods were defined. And then passing of property, section 19, we have already discussed. This was the television. Here the immediately passing of property is happening. There's another example which you can read down. X buys oil, but they need to be put in casks by the seller to make it deliverable. So X is buying certain oil casks, and while purchasing, the oil was to be placed in the casks and then they were made to become in a deliverable state. Now you have to tell me, children, in this question number where you can see these long tubs or the drums that I've shown you, they are known as casks. The oil has been filled and the seller has informed the buyer that goods are put in a deliverable state. Seller has done something. The rule is for the specific goods and the seller has done something to put them in a deliverable state. Has the property passed? yes, the property immediately passes to the buyer. Now, if the oil gets damaged or some fire occurs in the godown, who is going to bear the loss? After this condition has been fulfilled, which is written over here in rule number specific goods, who will bear the loss? Tell me. I'm waiting for your answers. Ms. Thomas is asking what is bill of lading. So bill of lading is a document of title to goods. We had a detailed discussion about it in the previous chapter. All right. So in that, once that document is given to the buyer, that means ownership of goods has been given. Very good, Aditi, Thomas, Surya, Aryan, Bhuvan, Sarvesh, Nitil, Manish, Yash, Swati, Pramod. Excellent and quick answers you have given. Buyer will definitely bear the loss. Section 21. This is your carpets example. This also we have discussed from the study material. So a valid appropriation of the goods needs to be done. This was the packet of salt, which I was discussing with you. When they are uncertain, once you make them certain by description, appropriation is said to happen and the property passes from the seller to the buyer. And this is your example of bill of lading. Once you have transmitted the goods without reserving the right of disposal, seller is not liable because buyer is held liable. Now, children, twice in May and November 2018, straight away question paper examiner has given a question, write down the provisions relating to the sale of uncertain goods and its appropriation. In this, you simply have to write the answer. Define what are the uncertain goods. Write down section 23 subsection 1. This is what is the meaning of appropriation of goods. When the goods are sent by courier, section 23 subsection 2. What happens when the goods are given to the carrier or bailee? Give an example and you get full-fledged 6 marks. All right. So many a time, sorry for my throat, children. My throat is real bad today. So many a times, children, straight away questions also come. It's not that every time descriptive questions come in your exam. So when you get such straight away questions, these are very, very scory. If you have learned your content, you can write it out and you can score good marks. Now let's cover another kind of C category. We have done A category, B category. Now we are covering the C, third category given on your first page of the chapter, that is goods sent on approval or sale or return basis. How does the property pass in this case? Now, say for example, let's see this example first. P bought a musical instrument on the condition that he will purchase if he likes it or he will return it. So there's a beautiful guitar and Mr. P is a CA Foundation student and he thought that Halim ma'am was telling me that children should pursue their hobbies also. When you pursue your hobby along with your studies, you get mental peace and positivity. And when your mind is positive, you feel more happy while studying also. Does this happen? Do you children follow your hobbies also? So it's very important that you should pursue your hobbies. You should have certain kind of good habits of reading books or maybe playing some musical instruments or maybe having some sports in your curriculum as well so that your mind is also relaxed. Children, more relaxed our mind is, more mentally we are satisfied. We enjoy putting pressure on our mind for studies also because pressure has to come. Although CA Foundation is okay, it's not so pressurizing, but as you keep on going on CA Inter, CA Final, lots and lots of hard work is required. So when you have to have that mental peace, when you have certain kind of hobbies, it keeps your mind happy and positive and you can study well as well. So it says, here Mr. P, the CA Foundation student, has accepted what I told him and he thought that I will pursue and I will play a musical instrument also. But he thought, let me buy on approval and return basis. He used this method of goods sent on approval or sale or return basis. He told the shopkeeper that I will take this guitar and I will buy only if I like it. So law has given you an approval that if you make certain such kind of sale, in that case, when does the sale take place? When he signifies his approval. Number one, the buyer tells that, yes, I liked it and I want to buy it. The sale said to have happened. Or he retains the goods without giving the notice of rejection. Or if you have kept the good, I gave you for 10 days and you kept it for 12, 15 days and you did not send me any notice of rejection, that means now you have purchased the goods. Or he does something which is equivalent to acceptance. You have sold my goods further to somebody else. That means you have accepted my goods. Then only you will sell, na? ऐसे तो नहीं आप किसी और के goods आगे बेच दोगे. That means you liked it so much and you thought of earning profit also from that and you sold it to someone else. So law says if any of these things are done by the buyer, then the property of goods is passed. This is what we were doing, the passing of property, category C now. Now we're discussing about C point. How does the passing of property happens when the goods are sent on approval or return basis? Number one, goods sent on approval or return basis means, write it down, write down this definition. Goods sent on approval and return basis means where the goods are sent to the buyer and he will send his approval or acceptance only if he likes it, or he has the right to return the goods if he does not like it. Simple. He will send his acceptance or approval if he likes the goods, or he may return the goods if he does not like it. So P has purchased a guitar and he thought the property will said to be passed to the buyer. Number one, he will either send his approval or he keep the goods for longer time, or if he does something which is equivalent to acceptance. So let's apply these principles in our example. So what will Mr. P do? He has taken it on sale or return or approval basis. He bought the instrument on the condition that I will purchase it if I like, or I will return within 1 week. So what is the time period? So here we are applying the first rule. He said that I will give my acceptance, but he was to give his acceptance within 1 week and he failed to do that. Just a second. So he said, I will give my acceptance within 1 week. Now he fails to return the instrument within 1 week. So who becomes the owner, children? Mr. P becomes the owner. Now if the guitar gets damaged, if the strings get broken, if it's fallen down, if the body of the guitar, this stripe come out or anything happens to it, Mr. P will be held liable. Why? Because property in the goods has passed, 1 week has expired, you have become the owner, and now you're held liable for the goods. But what happened within that 1 week period? If anything happens, who was the owner? The seller remains the owner for that 1 week. Why? Because he has given him the right to sale on approval and return basis. Na? So seller has taken a risk over here. Terms and conditions may apply. तो वो अपनी टर्म्स एंड कंडीशंस उन्होंने कुछ भी ऐड करी हो सकती है. सो आपने जानबूझकर म्यूजिकल इंस्ट्रूमेंट तोड़ा उस 1 वीक के अंदर, तो यू विल ऑल्सो बी हेल्ड लायबल. But for applying the section, for understanding the law, it's very important that the picture should be very clear in front of your eyes. If 1 week's time period has been given, seller will be held responsible for that 1 week. After that, if you fail to return, you become the owner and you will be liable for any further loss on the goods. He does something which is equivalent to acceptance. So the first category is, this is the first category, children, that he gives his acceptance or assent, number one. Number two, time period. Number three, he bought the musical instrument and he thought that I will return it. But meanwhile, he uses the guitar in an event. Now, what has he done? This Mr. P was very smart. He thought that Christmas has come up yesterday. You must have seen there were so many Christmas parties going on. So this Mr. P went to one of the club and he said, I have a guitar, I would like to play it. And he played the guitar and earned certain amount of revenue also from an event. Has he become the owner? Yes or no? Tell me. By using the guitar in an event, by playing it at Christmas event. Very good, Aditi. I'm glad to read that you follow your hobby as well. That's great. Yes, Miss Thomas. It's absolutely adequate. Abhishek, why do you want the seller to claim the damages? Once the goods has become yours as a buyer, you are responsible. So what will happen in this case, children? Will he become the owner? Yes or no? Mr. Bhuvan Singh is the first one to send the correct answer. Aditi is also correct. Why I'm not getting others' answer or why it is taking so much time? Yes, Manish Jain, that's correct. Surya is correct. Tanmeet is correct. Sunil is correct. Ritu Tiwari is saying, no, ma'am, that's not right, Ritu. He will definitely become the owner. Aditi Salvi is absolutely correct, ma'am. He becomes the owner and he has used it to earn a profit from it. Definitely, children, he will become the owner because you have used my guitar. You can use someone's guitar only if you own it. ऐसे थोड़ी ना आप किसी की चीज उठाकर कहीं पे भी प्ले कराओगे. आपने सेल ऑन अप्रूवल एंड रिटर्न बेसिस करा था. उसमें कहा गया था थर्ड कैटेगरी में दैट इफ यू डू समथिंग which is equal and acceptance of goods, now you have done that something, therefore you are said to be the owner of the goods. If anything happens to this guitar, now you are the owner, you have to pay for it. All right, so I think 10 minutes are left and I want you to have a quick revision of MCQs only. Yes, Nitil Soni, that's correct. Let's do the MCQs, and you have any queries also, send it to me right now before it gets too late. Property in goods means ownership of goods, possession of goods, both or none of the above. Where you're thinking caps and answer me now. Otherwise, it takes too long to do the MCQs in the next session. Let's finish the MCQs first. Oh, sorry. Question number 1, A, B, C, D, which is the correct answer? Astha Ghosh, that was correct. Good. Pramod K, your answer was also correct. He will become the owner. Very good, children. Many students have sent the correct answer. We have already done this question orally also in the beginning. Property in the good means ownership of the goods. Ownership is the correct answer. Thomas, why are you saying possession of goods? What is the difference between ownership and possession? Ritu, you're also wrong. Why are you saying possession of goods? Miss Nidhi Yadav is saying somebody was telling me May paper is more difficult than November attempt. So Nidhi Yadav, you simply have to revise your study material. You have to learn and revise the notes which I have given to you and the PPT that we are discussing. You have to go through the RTPs and mock test papers that we'll be doing in the class as well. No one can stop you from cracking your exams. Either you give them in May or November. I'm telling you here very clearly, if you have done your hard work, you have revised your content, you have thoroughly revised the study material, you have gone through my PPTs, you have made the notes, you have attended all the lectures, whatever we have discussed in the class, I can guarantee you, at least for law paper, you'll pass. Don't worry. Okay, 1A is the correct answer. Yes, I was talking about the difference between ownership and possession of goods. Possession means the custody of goods, like we do in pledge, bailment. You're only giving the goods, you're not giving the ownership. Ownership means when you have given all the rights of those goods to another person. When you become the owner, you can do whatever you want with those goods. So 1A is the correct answer. All right, Miss Thomas. So ownership is the correct answer. Yes, Tanmeet, possession means custody of goods. Very good, RN. Abhishek is asking, I'm asking the query. I understand every provision at the time of writing. Don't worry, Abhishek Vishwakarma. I'll teach you how to write descriptive questions. So don't worry about that. Aditi, that's correct. Ownership, yes, Mohammed Khan. Possession means आपके पास सिर्फ custody है, आपके पास सिर्फ goods आए हैं, आप उसके मालिक नहीं बने हैं. बिल्कुल ठीक लिखा आपने. Okay. Somebody has a question also. Manish Jain is saying a mattress. Acha, you others can read the second question, please. I am reading the queries meanwhile. Who will bear the risk? The party that has custody of goods, ownership of goods, possession of goods, all of the above. सोच कर देना इसका आंसर. A mattresses company gives 100 days trial and if it damages the mattresses within it. So Manish Jain, if you have taken the goods on trial, that is sale and approval and return basis, you're bound to take care of the goods as a bailee. I told you there are certain terms and conditions. Seller might have imposed certain conditions that you will be liable if anything happens. And if the contract is silent for all these things, it is assumed that till the time period he has given you the time to give your approval, seller is the owner. After you have given your approval, you become the owner. And now you tell me, who is the party which bears the risk? The party who is the owner of the goods or who has the custody of goods, possession of goods, or all of the above? Gufran says 2D, which is incorrect. Ritu Tiwari also says D, which is incorrect. Arpi is right. Mohammed is right. Asta is right. Harshita is right. Niklesh is right. Thomas is right. Nidhi is right. Aditi, Surya, Aisha Sood, Sunil Sharma, Sarthak. All of you children, those who have sent the answer, B, ownership of goods, that is the correct answer. The person who is the owner of the goods will bear the risk. Children, I have been speaking this line since morning. Whosoever is the owner will bear the risk. अभी मैंने आपको बताया, I have loaded the goods in the train. I have given it for transmission to the buyer. Section 23, subsection 2 told you I am not holding any appropriation of the goods. I am not attaching any conditional undertaking. Even if I give the goods to the courier, it is assumed buyer becomes the owner. Now, if the goods get damaged, buyer will bear the loss. Why? Because he is considered to be the owner. So whosoever becomes the owner will bear the risk, even if the goods are lying in my custody. Remember in the first half, we discussed that chocolates examples. How can you say custody of goods? I was having the custody of goods. I was having the possession of those chocolates. I was the seller. But you told me na, that you're keeping in my shop. I told you, you are the owner. You will bear the risk. Whosoever is the owner. आपने simple चीज सिर्फ ये देखनी है, जो owner है वो risk bear करेगा. Goods आपके पास है या मेरे पास है, उससे हमारे risk का कोई लेना देना नहीं. Many a times it can be a case, seller is holding the goods on your behalf. You are the owner. You will be liable. Many a times seller has already given you the goods, but ownership is yet to be transferred. Seller will be held liable if anything happens. So whosoever is the owner of the goods, that is the party which will bear the risk. So I think let's stop here because it's too much information and I know you all have to revise it also. So I'm here for 2 more minutes. If you want to ask any questions, you may ask if you have any doubts. Otherwise, we just end up the session. We have, I think, almost cleared all the doubts in between also. Ms. Thomas, if you ask me what kind of studies I have done while doing my CA. I read study material very nicely and thoroughly. And I also used to make notes the way I'm telling you to make the notes. Notes are really helpful. If you learn how to write your descriptive papers questions, also practical papers questions, then things become very simpler and you can clear your exams. And again, make a proper timetable, which is very important. Thank you, Niklesh. Thank you, Mohammed Khan. Thank you, Sunil, all of you, children. Ritu Tiwari is asking, ma'am, pledgee is also the risk bearer. So if you're holding my goods on pledge, obviously you will take care of them as a bailee. There, the role of bailee in case of bailment and pledge will occur. But otherwise, you will not be the owner of the goods. Thank you, Tanmeet. I'm glad that you don't have any doubts. Good. That means everything is clear. Aditi, they're working on that technical error. Don't worry. Akshay Kumar Bhambania. The questions that come in exam can be descriptive questions as well as the direct questions from the study material, like one we discussed today of 6 marks, that is what is the meaning of appropriation of goods, or it can be right on the provisions related to sale of certain goods. So many times direct questions also come, many times a case study based questions come. So in the next class, when we start the session, be there all of you, because we will be discussing mock test papers questions and I will teach you how you have to attempt those questions. All right, Sarthak Mohanty, we will tell you about the weightage and other details during that time itself. Around 16 to 14 to 16 marks question paper does come from sale of goods. Okay, thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Aryan. Thank you, Aisha Sood. Thank you, Ritu Tiwari. Sunil Sharma is saying how to do the hard work. You have to keep revising the concept. Hard work will automatically happen. Abhishek is asking, right of disposal is not reserved, contract of sale becomes, yes. So in the next session, when we do section 25 children, section 23 subsection 2 and section 25 together, when we read it, it will become more clear. So your homework is revise whatever we have done till now. All right. Thank you so much, children. I hope everything is clear. I can't see any more doubts now. And just revise whatever we have discussed and see you day after tomorrow. All right. Goodbye. Take care.